Think about it. Think about it. Think about it.
And welcome everybody to High School Basketball Weekly's first show of the 2021-22 high school basketball season. Hello, I'm Tim Morey alongside of my longtime broadcast sidekick, Rick Bua, joining you once again with High School Basketball Weekly after a one-year hiatus, Rick, where COVID kind of got in the way last year, but it's great to be back.
It's great to be back, Tim. There's nothing like doing the show with you and Peter and Dave on a weekly basis. We missed it last year. Thank goodness we were able to show some of the high school basketball classics, some of the best games that you and Butch and John and I have done over the last 12, 13, 14 years. And the feedback from our local fans was really, really good. It was good to be down in the studio, even though we weren't inside the schools doing the games. But the MIA have restricted a lot of the provisions from last year, even though the kids are wearing masks this year, but that's fine. At least we're allowed in the school, and we will be up at Drury High School, Mccann Tech, and Hoosick Valley from now until the end of the season, and we're looking forward to it.
And so, without further ado, let's jump right into it, Rick, and start off with the boys' basketball action that we've had here to open this season. And we've already had some very interesting games. And we'll start really with Hoosick Valley. They had a nice win in their opener.
Yeah, they traveled to Palmer, and they took down Palmer 76-60. And they pretty much picked up where they left off, Tim. And we'll talk a little bit about it later, I'm sure. But Coach Robinson was very, very pleased with his team last year. He's got the majority of his kids back. He's led by he's led by Carson Meswar, who knocked down 28 points. And then he's got a nice cast around him. They had a lot of that. They moved the ball really, really well. They don't have a lot of size, but they're pretty good shooters. They play great defense. And with Coach Robinson back, they're going to do pretty well. I mean, Sean Kastner, Frank Field, and Caleb Harrington all chipped in with 11. And they're going to be okay. They, as I said, they got a lot of kids back, and they had a very successful 18-2 season last year.
And, of course, they've got a big one tomorrow night up at Hoosick Valley when they take on Monument Mountain. And we'll get into Monument Mountain just a little bit because they've shown some early season promise. But that'll be a big one up at Hoosick Valley. And talking about Monument Mountain, they tangled with Drury, and Drury's off to a 1-1 start to start this season, Rick.
Yeah, Drury participated last weekend in the Pioneer Valley Tip-Off Classic. It was an array of games starting in the morning, ending later in the afternoon, with teams from the Pioneer Valley and Berkshire County participating. And Drury also played Palmer, the same team as we just talked about, Hoosick Valley beating. And Drury beat Palmer 68-56. They were led by their leading scorer last year, junior Louis Gelati, with 22. Benny Moulton had 12, and Big Tim Brazo, the senior, had 10. And then, Tim, you mentioned Monument Mountain. Coach Reset played his first road game the other night and went down and was beaten by Monument 68-56. Gelati led the way with 24. Moulton had 18. Brazo with 10. So your three big scores. Not that Coach Reset doesn't have other scores, but that's where I think Coach Reset's team this year, they're going to have to get a little bit more balance. They're going to have to get something from Anthony Pettengill, from Zach Davenon, from Logan Davis, the transfer from Hoosick, and they will down the road. But being 1-1, a loss to Monument, a team that is thought of very, very highly in Berkshire County. Randy Colas has a great team down there, a great program, had a great season last year, and he's had a lot of youth, and these kids are getting better.
And if you're going to lose, Rick, nobody likes to lose, but if you're going to lose, you want to lose against a quality opponent, and you also want to lose against a team that's in a higher division. And Monument Mountain will be playing in Division 4 this year, Drury in Division 5, along with Hoosick Valley and Mount Greylock. So if there's such a thing as a good loss on the road, that might be it, although I know Coach Reset won't agree with that. But this Drury team I like a lot, Rick. I agree with you. They've got the makings of a really, really good team. They just need to fill in a few pieces.
Yeah, and also, I named the majority of the kids. So, I mean, really, Coach Reset's got 6 starters. He can only put 5 on the floor. So he's either got Davenon out there or he's got Pettengill out there, one or the other, or maybe Davis. The other kids, your 3 big scorers. they're certainly going to be in there all the time. But he's bringing along a junior, Sacco, and Sam Mormon, a freshman. So he's going to his bench and he's getting some minutes with these underclassmen. And Coach Rissett's team, like Coach Robinson's team, like Coach Bob Thistle's team, we talk about this year in and year out.
Right.
They are so good at what they do. They get the best out of their kids, and as the season goes on, they get better. And that's what they look for.
And that's the mark of good coaching, and we talked about it at the Jamboree, how fortunate we are in Northern Berkshire. All the schools in Northern Berkshire, girls and boys, are really headed up by some very, very outstanding coaches that we're going to talk about as the year goes on. And just referring to Coach Risett, Coach Robinson, Coach Thistle, Coach Bullitt down at Mccann, these are experienced, knowledgeable individuals in the game of basketball, and these schools are lucky to have them.
Yeah, they are. They're great. They're very talented. That's why they're there year in, year out. It isn't a year in and then a sabbatical or asked to leave or want to leave. These coaches have been there for an awful long time. It was so good to see Coach Robinson come back last year, and these kids are paying. The benefits are already being shown. So Coach Bullitt loves his team. We'll talk about him in a couple of minutes. Coach Bob Thistle always gets the best out of his kids, and they're cordial to Northern Berkshire Community Television.
Absolutely.
Too. They love what we do, and we love what we do, and they're always up for an interview now and then, and they love sharing their stories and what's going on with their teams.
And speaking of Mccann, this is a team, they got off to a little bit of a rough start here to start this season, Rick, but it's a team, and I think I talked to them a little bit about the Jamboree. I think that this is a team that will be much better towards the end of the year than they are now, and I think they're going to have a fine season, although they've started off with a couple losses. Yeah,
let me tell you, Tim, when we were down at Hoosick Valley last week doing the Jamboree, before we went on the air, Coach Bullitt came over and sat right next to me, and he just wanted to talk. He just wanted to say hi, because Coach Bullitt had last winter off. Mccann opted out athletically last year with boys and girls basketball, so Coach Kathy Buda and Coach Chris Bullitt were not able to get their kids together like the other coaches were. Even though it was a shortened season, a different type of season, a different style of basketball, they didn't have their kids to practice with. They didn't have their kids to talk to and to work with and socialize with. And so they were so grateful that they're back to somewhat normal this year. Mccann is young, so the seniors last year didn't get a chance to play. So really, Coach Bullitt, of all the teams we cover, he only had 2 kids that had any varsity experience at all, and that was Colby Marco and Owen Gagney. And they're going to be okay. He's just got to bring them along. They're young. He's got a little bit of size, and he plays in a decent league. So the Tri-County, I think, is where Mccann belongs, and they'll be very, very competitive. And as you said, they're going to get better as time goes on. They did play in the Franklin Tech Holiday Tournament, and they lost a tight one to Ware, 41-39. Jake Howland had 17, and Owen Gagney had 12. Then they lost to the home team, Franklin Tech, by 10, 45-35. They just offensively were really, really off that night. Marco was the top scorer with 12. They're at Hamden Charter for the next game. But Coach Bullitt, once he gets those kids practicing, it is a little different for Mccann. Making up no excuses, they didn't, and I certainly won't. But they didn't play for a year, so it's going to take them a little while.
Well, no question, they're going to be a better team as the season goes on. I know that for the fact that's usually been the case with a Coach Bullitt team. Last team in the Northern Berkshire area that we want to talk about, the Mounties. They dropped their opening game, but to a very tough opponent, Bay State.
Yeah, they played Bay State, Tim, down at the Curry Hicks Cage at the tip-off tournament. They got beat 70-44. Jackson Powell was the top scorer with 11. But again, Coach Thistle opted out last season also because of the coronavirus. They did field the team. They were okay. Lost a lot of close games. They lost a lot of games, period, but a lot of them were very, very close. And again, you need Coach Thistle there. He's a great teacher of the game. he's just a good person. And again, so good for us to deal with. He's so cordial to us, and he commends us for what we do for high school basketball. And I do the same. I think the world of him as a coach, the way he presents himself. You can just see his professionalism out on the court. And sometimes he's got some real talent. Other times he doesn't have the talent, but he's going to get the best out of his kids. They've always said to him over and over again in any facet of basketball, you may not have your A game all the time and you may not shoot well, but you can always hustle and play defense, and that's what Coach Thistle will get out of his boys.
No question about it. This is a young Mountie team, but Rick, they in the Jamboree showed that they don't quit. They were down early to Hoosick Valley, but they battled right back in that one. There's no quit in this Mountie team. So like Mccann, even though they've gotten off to a little bit of a rocky start, there's no question that they're going to be in the mix as the season goes along. Talking about some of the other teams in Berkshire County, of course, we'll talk a little bit about this later in the show. No real Berkshire County League anymore, and we'll go into that as we go down the road in high school basketball weekly. But Taconic, which is playing a Division II league, but Division V for purposes of tournament, they've gotten off to an impressive start so far this season.
Tim, the thing about Coach Bill Heafy's team is that it's the enrollment. And so even though you and I aren't down there the Monday after Thanksgiving for tryouts, I can't even imagine the young men that go to that school that try out to make that basketball team.
Right.
And so that's one of the schools that you don't necessarily have to take a look at last year's roster and say, this kid's back, this kid's back, and this kid's back. Now, the coach will know that. He knows who he's got coming back. But there are times when you are senior loaded and you don't have a lot of names. And so you take a look at a roster, and if you don't know the kids like Coach Heafy does, then you just assume they're all brand new, they had no varsity experience. But he gets some talented athletes that go to that high school. And he's got a couple more right now in Tavon Sandifer and Sean Harrigan. And they're 2-1 right now. They lost to SciTech, but knocked off Putnam and also East Longmeadow. So as you said, they're going to play come tournament time in Division V, but they play up during the whole season. That's just going to make them a very, very good team.
Right. And another team we haven't talked about yet, but we're going to hear a lot about as this season goes along. I know Coach Robinson and Coach Reset are very high on the Wacona Warriors and Coach Dustin Belster's squad. They're tough. They got some great players. Yeah,
they do. And again, it's no mistake because it's a Coach Dustin Belcher team. And that's why we keep talking about these coaches. We don't talk about the coaches in Central County or South County as much as the ones that we cover here in North County, but they're very talented coaches, very well known and very well respected. Wacona is off to a great start. They're 2-0, defeated Renaissance, and also beat Bay State. So they're 2-0. They're going to be hosting Monument Mountain upcoming in the next game, and that's going to be a great contest.
Oh, yeah.
Another great team is Randy Colas' Spartan team.
No question about it. Those two teams, they're going to be in the mix. Western Mass in Division IV. They've got size. Both teams have size. Both teams have scorers. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And that's going to be a matchup between those two teams, Wacona and Monument, when they get together. So that's a game you might want to look forward to seeing if you can. Switching gears, Rick, let's turn over to the girls for a minute and talk about the action that we've seen so far. On the girls' side, we've got Drury. They won their opener the other night.
Tim, you know what I want to do if I can, just for a second, is I want to kind of go back to boys just to complete it and try to get that Player of the Weekend if we can do that now.
Sure.
Is that any chance?
Sure. Yep, we do have a Player of the Week already on the boys' side. And from Drury High School, no mystery here with the 2 games he's had so far to start off the season.
Think about it.
Yeah, Louis Gelati, the outstanding junior for the Blue Devils. High score in both Coach Reset's contests so far, 22 against Palmer, 24 against Monument. And you could see him better and better all the time, had a great sophomore season. Started for Coach Reset on his championship team from 2 years ago when he was a freshman up in Drury. And, whether you want to call him their best player, well, maybe overall because he can dribble, pass, he can jump, rebound. Pretty good shooter, pretty good free throw shooter. Great with the left hand, and the better he gets with the right, the better overall player he's going to be. But you're going to see his name a lot. He's a great ball player, and he's very worthy of our first Boys Player of the Week.
He's a complete player. He can do it both inside and outside, and he's going to be a force this year in Western Mass basketball because he presents a real matchup nightmare for most teams. Talking about the girls now, we will go to Drury, Rick, and the Lady Blue Devils winning their opener the other night.
That's a good win. That's a good win for Coach Ian Downey's team. They kind of took it on the chin a little bit last year. Again, a sub-500 season in a very difficult year for some of the kids. But you could see during the Jamboree some of those younger kids that I hadn't seen in a while, in almost 2 years, really participate in that Jamboree and did very, very well. And they went to Belchertown, and they beat Belchertown 48-40. Kyla McGrath, no surprise. The outstanding Drury senior with 20 points. And Alyssa Russell, the junior, with 18. And there's your key, Tim. So you're going to need a second and third scoring punch. And I don't know if Alyssa Russell is going to average 18 a game. That's a lot to ask any basketball player. Right. Same thing with Kyla. She may not average 20. But nevertheless, you get 38. If you score in the 50s, you win a lot of girls' basketball game in the 50s. And the more balanced scoring that Coach Downey's team can get, they're going to be okay. And he's got a couple young kids, too. The Felix girl, she's a freshman. Lauren Davis, very, very spunky, very, very fast kid that Coach Downey is very, very high on. So they're going to do pretty well. But that's a good win. Your first game on the road to Belchertown, that was big for the Lady Devils.
Right, and McGrath, as you said, Rick, she's going to be solid every night when she's on the court. She does everything for the Blue Devils. She plays defense. She can pass. She can shoot. She's going to be solid. You just have to fill in the players around her. No question about that. Moving on to Hoosick Valley. They've gotten off. The beat goes on for the Lady Hurricanes. They've gotten off to a nice start to open this season up, which featured a very big victory in the opener against a very talented Wacona Warrior team.
This is a bigger game than I think a lot of folks even thought about, Tim, because if you look back to last season, and a lot of people forgot about last season, quite frankly. Right. Hoosick Valley, I think, was like 16-4, if I'm not mistaken. They had 4 losses. And I went back just to double check the night of the Jamboree, and all 4 losses were to Liz Kay's Wacona Warriors team from last year. And that has been a rivalry for the last several years with the Hurricanes getting the better of it, but in really good, close, tight games.
Right.
So excellent coaches, not just with Coach McGovern now, but with Coach Wojcik in the past versus Coach K. That became a rivalry, especially when the Berkshire County North was still with us. And so that was a huge, huge win. And I'm sure Coach McGovern did not remind her young ladies of the 4 defeats they had last year, and they wanted that one bad at home. And they got it 57-52 and a real good one. Avery Mcgrath, the senior, with 23, and junior center, Gabby Billets, that had 9. And then they defeated Hampshire rather handily, 55-26 with McGrath pouring in 25. Ashlyn LaSure and Billets each had 8. And then they're off until next week when they host Amherst Pelham at the Hoosick Valley gym.
And it's good to see Gabby Billets back after that knee injury. She wears a brace, but she seems to be moving very well, and that's big for Hoosick Valley to have that power forward back.
Oh, she looked really, really good in the Jamboree, Tim, and she looked very mobile, even wearing that brace, and it didn't seem to affect her game at all. But what she's very good at is boxing out. She's very good at offensive rebounds. She kind of reminds me a little bit, and it's apples and oranges, female and male, but like the way the center for the Hurricanes was a few years ago.
Jamison
Coffin. Thank you very much, Tim. Yeah, kind of played bigger than his size, and she plays even bigger than her size.
Right.
And she knows how to tip the ball back to herself. she's really good underneath, and she was on the floor a lot, and she's very physical.
Right.
But she's a very, very good basketball player.
A team, Rick, that I talked about at the Jamboree that really interests me a lot is the Lady Hornets from Mccann. Although they lost their opener, I'm expecting some real big things from Mccann this year in their conference.
Yeah, and we had a chance, Tim. Kathy Budai, the coach of the Hornets, was cordial enough to come up and talk to us a little bit the night of the Jamboree when we did the games live from Hoosick Valley. And she's very high on her team, and she's got a little bit of size. And we talked about that a lot, I believe, during that scrimmage, or the Jamboree versus the Blue Devils. She's got Macy Tatro and Izzy Lacasse. Izzy's a senior, and she'll probably be their leading scorer. She's the girl that you want the ball in her hand. She's their point guard. And even though they went down 54-38 to Palmer, Lacasse led the way with 12, and Tatro had 8. But they also have a Boisvert girl, and she's I think she's a sophomore, but she looked pretty talented, and she liked to call for the ball in the paint, and we don't see that a lot in girls basketball. I like that. I like it when her two bigs are in there, Tatro and Boisvert. And again, I think they're going to have to get a little bit of balanced scoring for a few others, but she's got some talent down there. She's pretty high on them. And again, they play in a league that I think it's going to be very favorable for them.
No question about it. I just like their squad. They have that guard play. They have their bigs. And I think they're going to, in their league, I think they're going to present a lot of problems to a lot of teams. A team that we're watching also is Mount Greylock. The Mounties, they lost their first game at home to Monument Mountain in a tight game, but it was a game they could have won, and they obviously have improved from their Jamboree performance.
Yeah, they lost to Monument, Tim, 44-41. So that's got to make Coach Jacoby feel pretty good. The kids seemed to be a little bit nervous, really not get over the jitters in the Jamboree. But they played a great game at home, almost pulled it out. I think Coach Jacoby is going to work with his kids, and it's all about ball handling too. And I noticed with the Greylock boys and the Greylock girls, there were just a couple of kids that really had the dribbling ability in the guard position. Their passing was good and very crisp, very sharp around the perimeter. But the more that they can take it into the paint, drive to the basket, try to push the ball on offensive rebound, defensive rebounds, they're going to get better. But Coach Jacoby's like this every year. For so many years now, he's had to get that. Sometimes we call that 10th win to make it to the tournament.
Right.
And even though things might be a little bit different this season, he always notes to us that the last several games were like tournament games because they were must-wins.
Right.
That only shows he gets better at the end of the season. But he does it year in and year out, and doesn't. I don't think it's going to be any different this year. I think they're going to get better as the season goes on.
You know, another team that's going to play not in a league which the other county teams play in, but will be playing in Division 5 for tournament play are the Taconic squad and Matt Mickle's squad there. They played Pittsfield and beat Pittsfield in their opener. They got a nice squad.
Yeah, again, we talked about the Taconic boys with Coach Heafy. Well, with Coach Matt Mickle, it's the same thing too. He gets an array of kids that come out, and he gets to pick his best kids. And even though Sienna Conyers, Tim has gone on to prep school, he still has a couple of girls, Aaliyah Phillips, and Faith Cross are two excellent ball players, and they're going to average double figures. I can guarantee you they're going to average double figures all season long. So he's just got to get some balanced scoring also, but I think they're going to be okay. And they started right out against Pittsfield. What a way to start the season against your hometown rival.
Right.
And they won that game 56-42. So they're gonna do the same thing as the boys. They're gonna play up a little bit, but in Division 5, and they were up and coming. So you kind of had that trifecta in the Berkshire North for the girls: Hoosick, Wacona, and Taconic. There was very little over the last few years to choose amongst those three teams, and I see that kind of being the same now, even though there is no Berkshire County League any longer.
Right. Well, that brings us, Rick, to our Player of the Week on the girls' side. And Avery Mcgrath gets it this time. She's had a fast start to this season. The senior, we expect to see a lot about her this year.
Yeah, she was very, very deserving. 2 huge games. 23, as I said, against Wacona. 25 against Hampshire. That's a lot. That's a lot of points. Again, she's going to be like on the boys' squad. Carson Meswar, most of the time, you're going to see Carson lead the way for the boys. You're going to see Avery Mcgrath lead the way for the girls. She's got the experience. She's exactly what a Hoosick senior looks like traditionally over the years down there, based upon all the talent over the last 10 to 12 seasons down there. So congratulations to Avery Mcgrath. And what they have down there, Tim, is an array of kids that share the basketball and that can score. That's what makes them such a good team.
Right.
But they are led by Avery, though.
Well, we got a chance, Rick, we alluded to it earlier in the broadcast. Of course, there's no longer a Berkshire County League. It's been rejiggered. And so both Hoosick Valley, Drury, Greylock, Mccann, they're all playing in what I'm going to say are Valley Leagues. Leagues that include Berkshire County teams, but also teams from Hampden and Hampshire Valley. And, and all the teams, Drury, Hoosick, Mount Greylock, Mccann, they're all in Division 5. But for purposes of league play, they play in different leagues.
Yeah, like first of all, we'll take the Drury boys, Tim. They're going to be in the Hampshire South, and they're going to be in with Frontier Regional, Hopkins Academy, Lennox, so 2 Berkshire County teams, Mahar, Greenfield, and Pioneer Valley. So for Coach Reset, travel's different for all the coaches this year. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But for Coach Reset, it's pretty much over in the general Greenfield area, Mahar over in Orange. But other than that, it's probably like going to Great Barrington, So that's one of the things the kids and the coaches it's going to change this year. McCann's been traveling for a long, long time. Now everybody's traveling, but that's the Hampshire South, and then what they're going to do is they're going to play crossover with the Hampshire North, which would be Lee and Greylock, your 2 Berkshire County teams, with Turners Falls, Athol, Franklin Tech, Smith Academy, and Mohawk Trail. And they'll play play a couple of those teams anyway. So a couple Berkshire County teams in the Hampshire South and a couple in the Hampshire North.
And the Bi-County East also more or less features 3 Berkshire County teams, Hoosick Valley, Monument, and Wacona.
And the caliber of ball that they play, there's nothing, you can flip a coin. We don't know what the future's going to hold. Those are 3 schools that could knock each other off, to go 1-1. I'm not sure, but they're all that talented. I'm glad that they're in that league, and they're going to be playing with Bay State, East Hampton, Palmer, and South Hadley. So it's a 7-team league, and their crossover games will be either against Belchertown, Granby, Hampshire, which they've already played, and Hoosick has, Munson, Renaissance, and Ware.
Of course, Rick, we talked about this at the Jamboree as well. The downside to all of this is the real rivals, Drury, Hoosick, and some of those rivalries, they only play once this year. The Drury, Hoosick boys play once. Of course, we'll cover that game right here on Northern Berks Community Television, but kind of sad we really enjoy those games. And speaking of big games, the game of the week coming up, we'll have that action live Tuesday, December 21st on Channel 1302. Yours truly and Rick Bull will be there at Hoosick Valley. Amherst Pelham versus Hoosick Valley. Amherst's got a really nice team this year, led by Delaney McFreddy's, who's quite a player for Amherst, and we look forward to doing that one, Rick.
Yeah, I can't wait to get down there with you, Tim, and get the season started. It'll be great.
And of course, High School Basketball Weekly shown right every Thursday night at this time, 7:30 p.m., and a rebroadcast Saturday at 10 o'clock and Sunday evening again at 7 o'clock. And we look forward to covering this year's high school basketball action right here on high school sports at Northern Berkshire Community Television. That's going to do it for this week on High School Basketball Weekly. For Rick Bua, I'm Tim Morey saying see you next week on High School Basketball Weekly.